James for the untouchable, true school sports. Let's go, baby. Bow!
Be careful what you wish for because it can become a reality.
Yeah.
The Untouchable True School Sports Empire proudly presents something the boxing game is missing. Hey, what's going on? It's your boy BT, and I came here to talk some boxing with the thousands of True School Sports subscribers. All right, so we're going to go ahead and talk about the face of Indian boxing. Yes, the face of Indian boxing. If you don't know who the face of Indian boxing is, if you don't know who the cash cow, who the golden boy, who the A side of Indian boxing is, let me introduce you and talk to you guys about Nishant Dev. Nishant Dev, Indian Olympian. Really interesting fighter. Let's talk about him because right now he's 3 fights into his pro career. He's signed to Matchroom Boxing. Eddie Hearn has big plans for Nishant Dev to become India's first boxing world champion. And man, I'll tell you this, if he can become a legitimate world champion for India, oh my God. We're talking about potentially one of the biggest stars of boxing because when you talk about untapped markets in boxing, I think India has to be probably one of the most untapped markets in boxing. You know, when you talk about the country of India, you're talking about a population of 1.4 billion people. You're talking about, you know, a lot of earning potential for a guy like Nishant Dev in a country where they never had an actual like world-class fighter like Nishant Dev, you know. So let's talk about him because he really is interesting. Now, funny enough, I'll tell you guys a story. So, before I went to Japan in November of 2024, two days before that, before I left for Japan, I was in Vegas and I covered Floyd Schofield versus Rene Talise Garon, and I saw my buddy Coach Ronald Sims. You know, Ron Sims, very very heavily involved in USA boxing. He has helped coach Shakur Stevenson and Troy Isley and a whole bunch of guys. If anybody in the USA boxing pipeline knows who Coach Ron Sims is, and if you're really in boxing, like in my opinion, like if you don't know who Coach Ron Sims is, you don't know boxing. You're not really involved in boxing because he's one of them guys where if you go into the gyms in Vegas or Florida or anywhere, you're gonna cross paths with Houston. You're gonna cross paths with him because he's relevant. He's always in these gyms, right? So I saw Coach Ron Sims, and sitting right next to him was Nishant Dev, and he was telling me he introduced me to Nishant Dev. I shook his hand, you know, I said hello, and he was telling me about how good he was. But like, you know, I think I was looking for somebody, so I didn't pay it a whole lot of mind at the time. But then like as time has went on, I realized like, oh shit, that was who he was introducing you to. So I've already met him, so interesting stuff there. But and I met him too. Like when he first got to America. He had just got to America when I met him. So, you know, he's been in America now for like what, 8 or 9 months. But that, you know, I met him when he first got to America. But nonetheless, let's talk about Nishant Dev. So he is the golden boy of Indian boxing. There has never been a legitimate Indian boxing world champion in the history of the sport. I mentioned the 1.4 billion population, so obviously a lot of earning potential there. He was a pretty good Olympian. You know, he didn't medal, but he fought two of the medalists from the last Olympics. He fought them tooth and nail, and he easily could have been a gold medalist if the decisions went his way. He lost to Omari Jones and he lost to Marco Verde by majority decision. So, you know, majority decision is pretty close. You're fighting these guys nip and tuck. He has. People have talked about his stamina problems, which is one of the things that he's going to have to correct if he wants to really be a world champion in the pros. He also lost to a welterweight contender and another fight I'm very familiar with in Vadim Musayev. He lost to him by majority decision as well. So he's been in the ring with world-class talents in the amateurs. Some would argue that he won some of those fights. Some would say he lost, but he was right there regardless. He was competitive in the fight, so it lets you know he's on a good level. Nishant Dev, he grew up as far as his upbringing. He grows up from a working class background, like many fighters in boxing. You know, his family had a farm, and he grew up working on his family's farm. So obviously, definitely someone that you know knows I would assume and I believe you come from a farm, you come from a country like India, and they're known as hard workers. Those Indian people. I feel like he's gonna have a good work ethic, and being with a guy like Coach Ron Sims, who's no Coach Ron is no nonsense. Like that dude is no nonsense. He's not working with you if you don't got a good work ethic. So that those are good signs. He sparred Shakur Stevenson, so he's been in camps with Shakur Stevenson. I know he's like really cool with Zaquin Moses, so I'm pretty sure he probably got some work with other guys, but I can't confirm that. But I know for a fact he sparred Shakur Stevenson, so he's sparring some of the best in the world, getting the blade sharp, improving. And doing what he can to take the next steps forward. His favorite fighter is Floyd Mayweather, so that's one of the, like many fighters, he loves Floyd. He's got I would say from what I've seen so far in his 3 fights, he's a speedy southpaw. I think he's got some pop, and the thing about Nishant Dev is he's still growing. I think he's got a little bit more room to grow physically. He's 24 years old, so he's just now gonna start getting his man strength. 6'1", southpaw, 154 pounder. I think he's got a good frame for 154, but I'll tell you this, man. Obviously, you don't want to kill these fighters, but if he can get down to 147 healthily, oh my God, 6'1", 154, speedy southpaw, good amateur background, can punch with both hands. I think that sounds like somebody who has a world championship profile. If he puts things together, so I'll like to see him try to get down to 147 if he can, but if not, he has a good frame for 154. He's got personality. One thing I like about Nishant Dev is he's got personality. He's got charisma. You watch him talk. You listen to his interviews. He actually does have personality. He does have a little charisma to him. So it's not just the fact that he's from India and India has had a champion and he might be a really good fighter and he was an Olympian. No. He actually, if you listen to him talk, Nishant Dev, from what I've seen, he does have some personality. He does have some charisma. And in this sport, that does count for something. So I do think he's going to be a fighter that is very relevant in the coming years in the sport of boxing. And I would say, too, as far as defensively, he's got tight defense. His defense is pretty tight. He can pivot. He can move in close quarters. And those are only skills that I think with Ron Sims are going to get better and better and better and better, because Ron Sims, he's helped Shakur Stevenson over the years fine tune those things and get those things better. I think when it comes to Nishant Dev's stamina problems, I think Nishant Dev's stamina problems are going to be alleviated because Ron Sims is going to get him right. I believe in Coach Ron Sims because I know what kind of coach he is. I've seen what kind of work he puts in the gym with these fighters, so I believe in him. So there's big fights for him down in the future. I'm looking at big fights with Amari Jones. I feel like the Amari Jones fight and Marco Verde, the 2 guys he lost to in the Olympics, those are going to be massive fights for him in the future because, the history is there. The history is there. And I want you guys to imagine, right, particularly if he fights Marco Verde, right? Because Marco Verde, he's already with the Canelo team. He's going to get a big push from the powers that be in boxing as Mexico's Olympian and whatnot. I feel like Marco Verde is going to be Marco Verde versus Nishant Dev actually has a chance, and this might be a video on its own, but I really feel like Marco Verde and Nishant Dev, if built up properly, could actually wind up being the biggest fight in boxing one day. Honestly, because you're talking about potentially the next star of Mexican boxing versus the star of Indian boxing. So you're talking about Mexico, a boxing powerhouse who has so much fervent support in boxing, and then you got India, which I know it sounds crazy because India doesn't have that track record, but if built properly, man, Nishant Dev can be as big as anybody in boxing because that's an untapped market of 1.4 billion people. So yeah, those are my thoughts on Nishant Dev. I like him. I like his style. I like how he fights. I just think he got to, like any prospect, he's got some things he's got to fine tune and go through that learning process of learning the pro game and being there with gatekeepers and tough guys and those kind of things. But got a lot of potential. So let me know what you guys think in the comments down below. Make sure you guys take the time to subscribe. And like I say in every single one of these videos, you can love me or you can hate me. But I'm just a kid from Daniel. So until next time, take care, guys. Thank you for watching another video on the untouchable True School Sports Empire. For more great boxing content just like this, make sure you guys stay tuned and subscribe. You won't be disappointed.